Hello and welcome to Saturday's ITV7 Picks podcast, where me and Frankie will be going through all of the 7 races on the 5th and final day of Royal Ascot as we try to find some winners on the ITV7 free-to-play game that sees all 7 races from the final day of the meeting with a £250,000 jackpot on offer. Frankie, we move on to the final day, having done 4 other previews. It's been tough going, hasn't it? We're recording on Thursday afternoon, so we've seen a few of the first races on the 3rd day. We've already had 150 to 1 winner and a winner for the King. So what chance have we got when 150 to 1 winner goes in?
Oh, it's hard work, isn't it? I mean, we've said it all week. These 2-year-old races, they are a slight lottery. If you do go and look back, the form of that race for the Valiant Force and his Majesty, they raced against each other previously and both actually finished really well. So always looks good in hindsight, James. But the Saturday races haven't ran yet, so we can have a crack at those.
Yes, and there seems to be plenty of top runners going. Just before we get into it, it will be the final chance if you want to get involved in TWE's ITV7 free-to-play league. £250 up for grabs if you finish top at the end of the week. It can still happen on the last day if you go on to land 6 or 7. So make sure you get involved. And like I mentioned, £250,000 on offer on the final day for landing the ITV7. If you want to get involved in the league, just use the code TWE ITV7. More details and the terms and conditions are in the description below, so check them out if wanting to have a go. Right then, we'll get into the final day, and the first race of the afternoon on Saturday is the 2:30 listed Chesham Stakes over 7 furlongs. And at the top of the market, we've got Pearls and Rubles for Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore. They've got the second in the market as well with Content with Wayne Lorden riding. La Guarida for 13 to 2, having won last time out. Golden Minder winning last time out at 10s, and then 14 to 1, bigger the rest. Frankie, another tricky one to start with. A lot of them we don't know too much about, having only run once. Who are you going with?
Yeah, I'm hoping for another ammo winner. We had an ammo racing winner of the Norfolk, and I'm hoping they can do it in the Cheshire. Not with the 150 to 1 shot. It's a bit shorter in the betting, but La Garida, who won last time out at Goodwood. I thought that was a good performance, being an odds-on cheaply park horse. And if you look at the form, the horses that have come out of it, the second, third, and fourth have all gone on to win since. So she's had 2 runs. She looked good when winning last time out. The form stacks up with everything in behind going on to win. As you said, if you're trying to paint a picture and build a case, then this is probably one that we know most about, and I think that she'll run a good race.
Yeah, I definitely think that horse can run a big race because the horse back in second, Indispensable, I actually think could be quite a nice type. So for La Garida to go and beat Indispensable, she definitely has got a bright future. I went for one at a similar price, 13 to 2, and I'm actually taking on Ryan Moore's choice in this, and I'm going with Wayne Lorden on Content for Aidan O'Brien. Look, he doesn't get it wrong all the time, but there is a few occasions where the second string of Aidan O'Brien's, I don't think sometimes they know actually how good their horses are. And what we know about Aidan O'Brien, his horses always come on for their first run. And I think Content is definitely one of them. She's a really well-bred daughter of Galileo out of a talented Group 1 winning sprinter Mecca's Angel, who won the Nunthorpe. She's a horse that won't lack any speed, but also she's got a bit of stamina at the back end of her pedigree as well. So she got a bit of best of both worlds, which would be perfect for the 7 furlongs for her as a juvenile. She raced in a fillies maiden over 7 furlongs on debut at Leopardstown. And she finished quarter of a length third behind stablemate Buttons, who was 4 to 6 that day. And a nice horse for Girl Lions in Serious Notions. Like I mentioned, I just think, even though Pearls and Rubles, I think, will come on for that run, she's stepping up from 5 furlongs to 7, whereas Content, we know, will get the 7. So for me, I think Content, he's maybe got slightly a bigger chance. I don't think the market might have got it right. That's just my opinion. So when we've got a price of 13 still, and I know you don't need price for the ITV7, but from a betting perspective as well, I think Content is the way to go in this one. Also, she's getting the 6 allowance, running off 9 stone, whereas I know a few are in the field, but against the Colts, that helps massively. So Content to kick me off in the ITV7 on the final day. Right, next up at Royal Ascot sees the first group event of the day with the Jersey Stakes over 7 furlongs. And what a field goes to post here, Frankie. We've got some absolutely quality runners that could turn out to be much better than Group 3 horses. We've got Covey at the top of the market that we both liked when winning at Haydock at 9 to 4. Emph Jar for that Shadwell team, Jim Crowley and Roger Ver at 13-2. The Antarctic for Aidan O'Brien at 7s. Mysterious Night 10-1. Olivia Meralda 10-1. And Holguin at 16s and Bigger the Rest after that price. It's a tricky one again because there's a lot of horses with potential that have shown it in lower class, but now need to show it in a Group 3. So who is your fancy?
Yeah, I'm going for one the other way, or the one that's going the other way. Holloway Boy has raced last season anyway, and plenty of top level races, placing in a couple of Group 3s, and then even a Group 1 that Auguste Rodin, the Derby winner, won. Was disappointing in the Guineas, but that was his first run of the season, and as we know, that Guineas was testing conditions that day, and I'm hoping if he can kind of bounce back to some of that form that he did show, because he was racing behind top class horses. He's definitely overpriced. We obviously need him to win for the ITV7, but I really think he deserves a shout in this field. So Holloway Boy for me.
The thing is with Holloway Boy, he was one I looked at as well, and probably would be my each way pick in the race, is that on debut, when he won the Chesham last season, he was over course and distance, and he went into very good races off the back of that. So if he's getting back to good to firm ground, having run on soft, heavy the last twice, a track he performs at, he could just go and bounce back to form, couldn't he? So in a race where we probably know more about what Holloway Boy can do than we do about the others. So not a bad selection at all. The one I landed on in the end was Emph Jar for Roger Varian. Yeah. To me, this colt just looks like one that could be the next one who could go and progress through the ranks for them. I'm not saying it's going to be anywhere near the likes of Baid or Alasifa or anything like that. We don't know. But I just think he's got a lot of scope to progress. And stepping into this Group 3 has got a really, really good chance. He heads into the event unbeaten, having been seen twice to date. Made a really nice juvenile debut when landing a strong maiden over 7 furlongs at Newmarket. The likes of Arabian Storm, Bodegon, Military Order, all in behind him that day. We know how good those horses are. Back for his first run as a 3-year-old. He picked up from where he left off in a novice stakes at Chelmsford, over a mile. He took the race by 6 lengths under a penalty. He's just a horse with bags of potential. I think 7 furlongs at this stiff track, having raced over a mile and 7 furlongs, shows he'll definitely get the trip. And Emph Jar, to me, was the most interesting in the field, so I'll be going with him. Another tough event on Saturday then is the only Group 1 event on the card. It's the Queen Elizabeth, the second Jubilee Stakes over 6 furlongs. And even though it's a Group 1, I think this is one of the most competitive Group 1s of the week. We've got Arturus at the top of the market, 4-1. Highfield Princess off the back of a second in the Kingston Stakes steps up a furlong at 6-1. Wellington for Australia at 13-2. Kinross, a winner at Ascot already, 10-1. Sacred 10-1. Rohan, a winner of the Wokingham the last 2 years, 12-1. And then 16-1 bar those. A cracking field goes to post, but it's a bit of a minefield to me, Frankie.
It is, yeah. I'm struggling to be too kind of confident on anything here. I mentioned Kinross in our preview, and I think Kinross is a very, very solid each way bet. Like, what you're getting with him. He's consistent. He's done it at Ascot. He's done it at various trips, and he I think will just run a good race. But the winner, I'm hoping, comes from the favourite, Artorias, who was, I think, 3rd in this last year and also had a crack at the July Cup as well. I like the fact that the horse has travelled over to England twice already, and comes here arguably in his best ever form on RPRs, at least, over in Australia. They're the best performances he's putting over there. So it comes here maybe fitter, because he came here off a little bit more of a break last year, and he's been to England twice before. He will need a little bit of luck in running because he normally does his best work late. But provided he gets that, I think he will be finishing strongly for sure. So Artorias for me.
Yeah, James McDonald on board. And like you said, has got a lot of experience in these top races, so could definitely run well at the top of the market. I've gone for the other Australian in the field, Wellington. So hopefully an Aussie wins this.
Hong Kong horse.
Hong Kong horse, yeah.
Hong Kong,
yeah. Runner Shartin, but an Australian bred horse. A multiple Group 1 winner in Hong Kong, over 6 furlongs throughout his career. And this term, although he hasn't won, he's been running really well in defeat at the top level. He finished 2nd at Shartin in February. behind the odds-on favourite, Lucky Swainus. That has been this horse's nemesis, absolutely, in the last 4 runs. That was in the Group 1 Sprint Stakes. He then ran another cracker. That was over 7 furlongs. What I like that this horse has run over 7 is that the 6 furlongs at Ascot stiff. It really does take some getting. Even though you have got to be quick out the gates, it takes some getting after that. That's why I think your horse that stays on well and Wellington, they'll be staying on. That's what I like to see. That was at the same track. He finished 3rd in the Group 1 Queen Silver Jubilee Cup. Dropped back to 6. He bumped into Lucky Swainus again. 3rd at Chartil in a Group 2 Sprint Cup. Only going down by a length this time, so showing progression. And he was last seen in the Group 1 Chairman Sprint Prize, finishing a good 3rd, again behind that same superstar that keeps winning over in Hong Kong. I just thought that 7 furlong run and being a multiple Group 1 winner over 6 furlongs on rapid ground over in Hong Kong, which he's going to get again at Royal Ascot on Saturday, I thought was enough to sway my vote for Wellington. So we're waving the Australian flag in the Queen Elizabeth II Jubilee Stakes. Another feature event on the card then is the Group 2 Hardwick Stakes over 1 mile 4. Look, I could talk to on blue in the face about how this race should be a Group 1, but it's still a Group 2. And I think this is a cracking renewal of the race this season. We've got a good favourite, strong favourite, 7-4 in Hookham at the top of the market. Free Wind getting the sex allowance at 11-4 for Frankie. Deauville Legend coming back at 8-1. Pole Driver coming back at 8-1. Changing of the Guard, having his second win of the season at 9s. A 16-1 bigger the rest. At the top of the market, Frankie, you could, like, for me, there's a lot of talent in there. The only thing for me is that there's 2 of them in Free Wind and Hookham that have already had a run this season that might just be telling. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm trying to overcomplicate this, and maybe the smart thing is just to say, look, Hookham went past Desert Crown really nicely, and he came back from a break, and he looked as good as ever, and he quickened well. I could probably, build a very strong case for him and keep going, but I'm going to give a chance to Deauville Legend, who the main reason being he just is progressing through the ranks so nicely. He's getting better and better and better, and I don't think he's hit his ceiling yet. So I think, we don't know where the ability is, and especially coming back from a break, you don't quite know. But, he progressed through from winning a Group 3 to a Group 2. They tried him over in the Melbourne Cup and finished 4th. That was a decent run over further. Back to what is probably his optimal trip. That's what he's put in his best performance when he won the Group 2. I think 1 mile 3 at York, or 3.5. And I just think he is one that is definitely getting better. And I still think there's more to come. So, yeah, the favourite is probably the right favourite, but I like Deauville Legend.
Yeah, I like Deauville Legend as well. Obviously, he's ran well over course and distance, hasn't he, as well? And second to Secret State by a head in the King George V Stakes. The only thing for me is, and I am keeping it simple, it's just that Deauville Legend hasn't had that run. And he was out of Hookham and Free Wind. Free Wind obviously getting that sex allowance, I think, is a really, really smart horse. But what Hookham did on his return and stepping back up to his optimum trip of 1 mile 4, I just can't look past him. This 6-year-old has just been a special horse all the way through his career, taking races like the King George V Stakes as a 3-year-old over course and distance, the Group 3 Jeffrey Freer Stakes on 2 occasions, Group 3 Cumberland Lodge Stakes at Ascot, Group 2 Dubai City of Gold Stakes in Maidan, and then his best success in the Group 1 Coronation Stakes at Epsom. He seems to have done it all over different staying distances between 1 mile 2 and 1 mile 6. Not seen for almost a year, obviously picking up quite a big setback, but Owen Burrows got him back against Desert Crown, and all the money came for Desert Crown, obviously the Derby winner. But what a performance it was by Hookham over 1 mile 2. Hit a bit of traffic in running. When he got out, Jim Crowley absolutely got him flying, and I thought he won quite cosily in the end. And I looked at that and thought, you know what, if that goes up to 1 mile 4 like he always does, I don't know what horse beats it. Rated 1-2-2, he's going to take all the beating in the field. Well, Pole Driver's at 1-2-4. Obviously won a King George at Ascot, but for me, I think Hookham's going to take all the beating off the back of that performance, and I think he's only like to improve after that year or so off. So I'm keeping it simple with Hookham in the Hardwick Stakes. A tricky punting event on the final day is the Wokingham Stakes. There's no Rohan in here, who's won it the last 2 years. So there's going to be a new winner this year over the 6 furlongs. It's another big fielded handicap event. We've seen a lot of big prices win this year. Are you having a go at one at a bigger price, or are you keeping it simple?
Yeah, a little bit of a bigger price, not massive, but it's juicy enough. King's Lynn with Harry Davis on board, taking off 3, which I think will be crucial. This horse has consistently raced in top level sprints for a long time. I think he was rated 111 at his peak, now 107, and Harry taking off 3, so effectively running in this handicap off a 104. Looked really good last time, I thought, at Chester. Over 5. This 6 should suit him. He's ran at Ascot plenty of times. He hasn't won here, but he has placed, and he definitely knows the place because he's been there plenty of times. Ground will suit. I think he ticks a lot of boxes. Like I said, near the top of the weights, but the claim is crucial here.
Yeah, definitely off a mark of 104. Obviously, for the King's already had a winner on the Wednesday, on the Thursday, sorry. So be nice to see the King have another winner, and Kingston 18-1. I've gone for one at a similar price, actually, Apollo 1. The 5-year-old who's been really consistent sprinter throughout his career. But this season seems to have taken his form to just that slight better level in his 2 runs. He signed off last season with a good win at Kempton over 6 in a tough Class 2 handicap. He was next seen this season in May when finishing a good third of 21 behind Probe in the Howden handicap over 6 furlongs at Newmarket. Running off the same mark of 97 when last seen at Epsom in the competitive JRA Tokyo Trophy handicap. He finished in next second to Badri, who looked well handicapped that day and flew home. Running off the same mark of 97 in this event, having been knocking on the door in very, very similar events. He heads back into this race where he's off £1 lower when 8th last term, but he heads into this race on better form. So I just thought I'd take a chance on Apollo 1. Another one I'll mention, and I couldn't not mention him, is Mr. Wagyu, because I love that horse, but he doesn't seem to be winning in June or July this month. These 2 months.
That's
so
not at all.
I know he hasn't won any yet. But what did I say on the weighing room? I'm going to stick with his horse until he wins. But I'm not. I'm jumping off him for the ITV7. But I would just watch him each way because he's still off that mark of 96. But no, Apollo 1, who does have form with Mr. Waggy from Epsom. That's going to be my selection in that race. Right, the penultimate ITV7 race from the Royal Ascot meeting sees the Golden Gate Stakes. Another handicap over 1 mile 2. Top of the market, we've got Aidan O'Brien, Ryan Moore, Canute. We've got Nutbrex for Charlie Johnson and Frankie Dettori at 5s. First Sight at 15-2. Lion of War 10-1. We also have Zirab, who's in there as a reserve at 17-2, but that's not yet running yet, but it could run. Oblex for Jonathan Eddie Gosden as well, 16s, and 18-1 bigger the rest. Who did you land on in this one, Frankie?
Lion of War is going to be my selection, who's been pretty consistent since being stepped up in trip this year. 3 runs and finishing 3rd, 4th and 1st. And I think just one that maybe the handicap will have a trickier time assessing. Because at Newmarket, he lost his balance a little bit in the final couple of furlongs and was dropped back and kind of killed his race. But it's almost an excuse as to why he probably didn't finish in the first 1 or 2. And then at Musselburgh started slow and didn't have the best trip round before finishing and winning. But again, maybe could have won further having travelled a little bit better. So I think, he's still been running well and he's been placing and he's raced over 1 mile 2, 1 mile 1 and 1 mile. So the trip's not a problem at all. Ground's not a problem. I just think maybe there's a bit more to give and circumstances have almost benefited him from a handicapping perspective.
Yeah, that could be. It could be one of those blots that you've just mentioned there. That the horse is very hard to handicap because you just don't know how good he's actually ran. So yeah, definitely one at 10-1 to look out for there for Charlie Johnson, Oisin Murphy. I've gone for another Charlie Johnson one, but I've gone for. It's not just the only reason, but I've gone for Notbrex, and this is set to be Frankie Dettori's last ever ride at Royal Ascot. Read into that what you will. He's got no ride in the last race, and it would be a perfect send-off, wouldn't it, for the great rider if he was to land this. And to be honest, not Brex. I know all Frankie's horses have been backed in because of the rider, and they don't want the multiples. But I think this one has got a really, really good chance. He looks to be on potentially quite a nice mark off a mark of 90 after what he's done so far in his career. He needed the experience on debut over a mile. He's obviously learned a lot for that experience because he then went to Pontefract up to 1 mile 2 furlong, which he runs over again on Saturday, and he got off the mark in good style. He saw off the talented Perfuse, who's obviously ran in the King George V Stakes, not to a bad standard, and has won twice after that win. So the form has been frank there. He was running under a penalty at Haydock, went up to 11.5 furlongs. He bumped into the Group 2 Queen's Vase winner, Gregory, who obviously we like a lot. He's gone on to win the listed Cockhat Stakes and gone on to win the Group 2 Queen's Vase, now favourite for the St. Ledger. And he was giving Gregory £6 that day. So that was another good performance. Last seen at York, went over 12 furlongs. He ran another solid race, finished fourth by just over 2 lengths. And they're dropping him back to 1 mile 2, which is the distance he's only been seen winning at. I think off a mark of 90 is very, very interesting. So Not Brex will be my selection in the penultimate race. Right, Frankie, we move on to the final ITV7 race of the 2023 Royal Ascot meeting, and it is the Queen Alexandra Condition Stakes over the marathon trip of 2 miles, 5.5 furlongs. We see Stratum at the top of the market, who's already gone on to win this race at 9-4. Dawn Rising at 4-1 for Ryan Moore and Joseph O'Brien. Run for Oscar at 4-1. Falcon 8-7-1. Tight Rider 9-1. Goshen in there 18-1. The Grand Bazaar 20-1. First Emperor 50-1. Coltor 100-1. And Estacas, the rank outsider, at 200-1. Right then, Frankie, finish off all the selections for our previews. Let's finish up with a winner. Who are you going for?
Let's hope so. Run for Oscar to get the job done over the staying trip. Won a big handicap at Newmarket on the flat last October, and then has been in some decent form over hurdles since. A little prep run over 1 mile 4 at the Curragh recently on the flat, I think, just to get set for this. And I think he's got a very solid chance. Similar to you look at these jumps horses when they come here. You want one that's obviously previously done enough on the flat, but then has probably been in good form over obstacles to then come back to the flat and carry a bit of that good form back to the flat and be slightly ahead of their mark. So he's an 8-year-old. He's a bit of an old boy, but to stay in trip, you've got to be tough, and he is in good form. And I think, like I said, a little prep run on the flat of the Curragh would do him just right for a winner in the last.
And I tell you what, you've got to watch out for that man, Charles Burns, because whenever he has a runner, you've got to keep an eye on it. I've gone for one at a similar price, but against yours, and mine's Dawn Rising for Joseph O'Brien and JP McManus. He was previously with Aidan O'Brien before joining his son, and since he's gone to Joseph, he's been sent hurdling. And you know me, Frankie, I'm a massive fan of the jumps. I love the hurdles form, trying to come back to the flat. We've already seen it with Orban this week. Hopefully Dawn Rising can do it as well. He's been running to a credible level last season over the jumps. If you look, he was third to Champ Carly on debut at Galway over 2 mile 5, then got off the mark at the Stowell over 2 mile 4, and he backed that up at Navan when beating American Mike by 8 lengths in the Grade 3 Monksfield novice hurdle. Sent into the Grade 1 Lawless of Naas. I thought he was quite an eye-catching third that day behind Champ Carly, staying on, looking to want 3 miles. Got 3 miles in the Albert Bartlett at the Cheltenham Festival. Didn't work out. He was pulled up. But he's last been seen back on the flat, and I think they've had this in mind since then, because he was seen having a prep run in the Group 3 Levenmos Stakes over 1 mile 6. And he was a good third, not finishing far behind the winner that day. But I just think that wasn't everything. I think that was a perfect setup for this race, and I think he should be absolutely bang up for going close. So Dawn Rising is my selection, but I just want to put a disclaimer out there. Don't rule out Estacas at 200-1. Do not rule out Estacas. He's got Ascot form in a bumper, and I think at 200-1, he could run out a really, really big price winner. I've already said 150-1, so I didn't want to finish this podcast without saying he might have a chance. I might be completely wrong, 200-1 chance. I'm going with Dawn Rising, but just have a little watch out for Estacas.
I'd certainly knock a few people out the ITV7.
Oh, it really would. Imagine if you needed that to win and you're on a 200-1 chance. That would be a great way to win it, wouldn't it? Frankie, that's all our selections throughout the week at Royal Ascot. It's been a lot of fun, as always, going through all of the 5 days. Look, it's been tough going so far. We've had a few winners here and there, a few places. Hopefully, towards the back end of the week, we can really get into our stride. But if you do want to get involved for the last time in this year's completely free to enter ITV7 competition on the Saturday, Use the code TWE ITV7 to join the TWE League. £250 first place prize. You got one last chance to get involved in that. And £250,000 on the final day of the meeting is up for grabs for landing all 7 winners at Royal Ascot. Just have a look at the T's and C's for more details in the description. Frankie, thanks as always. I hope everyone's enjoyed the preview, and all the best, whatever you're backing on the final day of the 2023 Royal Ascot meeting.